The views expressed by the guests of The Real ShowCast do not necessarily represent the views of The Real ShowCast or its hosts. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the cast, The Real ShowCast. What? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The Real ShowCast. It's the cast.
Hello and welcome to The Real ShowCast. I'm your host, Tommy Mack, and with me today is our man, Eric Stretch.
That is me. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are so thrilled and excited to have you guys on the show today.
Last time when I introduced Eric, I mentioned that he was in a boy band with me, but I forgot to actually say that you've got quite a bit of Broadway experience as well.
Oh, we're talking about me. I like
So
that.
I just really briefly would like to, can you give us a quick rundown on that?
After No Authority ended, I found my family in the musical theater world and Broadway, and got the opportunity to do 3 Broadway shows.
Yay.
And I did Wicked for 5 years, and that was probably the big one. I called it the government job.
Amazing.
And now I was in New York for 14 years. Now I'm back in Los Angeles, and thank God I'm out of that damn concrete jungle.
And he has a secret project coming up that I'm not sure he can talk about yet.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
he's
But
excited.
I'm excited to introduce our next guest. Please welcome from the magical daytime hit drama Passions, Christy Fairest and Daytime Emmy Award winner, Jade Harlow. Give it up.
Howdy, y'all.
What's up?
All right.
Back with my co-star, back with my girl.
Hey,
It's been a
baby.
while.
I know. So excited to see you,
I
man.
know, me too.
It's been a while since you guys have seen each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long do you think?
Over a decade.
A whole
Since you
decade?
said
Really?
Because I didn't see you at the date when I was a presenter at the date. I saw you I think I saw you there. Yeah.
When was that?
That was 2005 when I did Queens of Drama.
Okay, well, that's over a decade.
Wow.
That's a long.
No, I'm sorry, not 2005. 2015.
I was like, that's amazing. The Real ShowCast, bringing people together.
Yes.
It's 2018.
Well, thank God. It hasn't
Yeah,
been that long.
no.
Okay, good.
Well, we're really excited to have you. Thank you guys so much for coming out. You look great.
Thanks for having us.
And it's funny because it has been a long time. I think the last time that I saw you guys was easily over a decade ago. That was Hollywood Nights days.
We're not that old. We were like 2 then, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Fetuses. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It kind of feels like it wasn't that long ago. Like when I
No,
see you guys, it's
not
like, oh
at
wow.
all.
I mean, seriously, where's the Fountain of Youth? I mean, you guys
look stunning,
great.
by the
Awesome.
way.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
beautiful.
you. I didn't know we were on camera today, so I'm like rocking my
Oh, so you're like, oh, I just woke
so-
up like this?
no,
Is
we-
that
no,
what
I
you're
just
trying to
didn't
say?
know. I would have been like,
We
you
both
know,
came late, and thank God we rolled up at the same time because we had the emergency last minute thought of, oh no, what if this is on camera?
Well, luckily
that's
it's
my
not.
bad
what
for not
happened.
letting you guys
Yeah, I was
know.
like, maybe I should just put a little powder on or something, but I whatever about my hair, and I was like, oh shit, we have
I was
camera?
only going to wear deodorant until I heard it was on camera, and then I was just like,
Oh, did you
uh-oh.
respond back?
Only deodorant.
Only deodorant. That's
Nothing
it.
else.
Yeah, no,
deodorant.
listen.
Naked.
I did. But,
Oh, you did?
But I
But,
knew it was. Yeah, it was.
We were on the
it
road
was
by
far,
then.
Far too late. I had the same thought too. This morning I was like, oh yeah, I didn't tell them.
Yeah,
You got to let women know,
I
man.
know.
We do
Gotta
more
let
than
them
just
know.
shower and
No, you gotta
shave.
let actors know, not just
And
women.
actors.
Because
Yeah.
men would
Right.
have been like, oh wait, you guys don't have like,
Right.
Last
You know-
looks,
you
last
know-
looks.
right?
Living and learning, and growing pains. Here
Anyway,
at
it
the Real
wouldn't be
ShowCast.
so bad, you guys that are out there. First of all, thank you for joining us. It wouldn't be so bad. It's not like we're vain. It's just the fact that you guys will talk crap about us.
Yes.
Like, Twitter would be like, oh my God, did you see
100%.
Christy Pharris? She looks like shit now. You know what I mean? What happened?
Y'all better be nice now.
You know?
nice.
Be nice.
So,
We're going to get trolled just for asking them to be nice.
Right? Now we're getting trolled.
How dare you,
excellent,
Umbridge.
So we're here today. We're going to talk a little bit about your experience in the entertainment business. Obviously, you were both on Passion, so we'll hone in on that a little more than everything else. But yeah, I'm excited to get going.
Absolutely.
Should we move right on into segment one?
Segment 1.
Segment one.
Here we are. We made it. So you guys work together on Passions. For those who don't know about Passions, can you just give a little bit of a summary about what this magical show was and what it meant to you?
I'll let you start first. But what I do call it, I call it a soap opera on crack. But go ahead. I'll let you start since you were on the show first.
Well, I'll make all the mistakes. That way she can say the right things when I'm done talking.
Perfect.
Okay. I always... it's the soap opera people know best as having a witch and a little person.
Okay.
I say that, and immediately they're like, "Oh, that
that's
show! Didn't you guys have like gargoyles and your house was sunk into hell?" So, we were a supernatural soap that was very tongue in cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And what it meant to me was that I had a fantastic first time job out here in Los Angeles.
Was that your first job?
It was my first like real long winded job.
Well, what a great segue, because we would like to ask you what that whole entire audition process was like. Because we know even still to this day, I feel like sometimes we go into the rooms and we're still jumping through crazy hoops and everything that they try to do at an audition. And then tell us about your experience with Passions specifically.
Well, I'll hop in first because she's got a better story and I don't want to follow it.
Okay.
So for me, much like Christy, we were both replacing actors that had initially started with the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I get these sides and it's like the breakdowns like bratty little sister hasn't yet discovered boys or makeup. I was like, she's a little old and not know about boys and makeup, so she's probably a tomboy. Yeah. So I showed up, cargo pants and a baseball shirt and a ponytail, and I got called back and they asked me to look a little more feminine.
Okay.
So I came back looking a little more feminine.
Sure.
And then I screen tested with Taylor and Mounts and loved her right away. It's impossible not to like be caught up in her chemistry, and much to my surprise, I booked it.
Well,
Congrats.
So my story is definitely different, and it's a testament. If there's anybody who are, if you guys are actors out there, what's meant to be yours will be yours. You can't mess it up, and no one can take it away from you. Originally, I wanted Brooke's role, which Whitney. So I had 5 people. I had people from NBC calling.
Mm-hmm.
I had people who didn't even represent me call in to Jackie Brisky, who was the casting director. Like, you got to see Chrystee, and she would not see me. What? So not even a little bit would not see me. And I tried hard. And when I say I had people who are agents and managers calling on my behalf, and they didn't even care about getting paid, but they were like, this is so you.
Right.
Wouldn't see me. Fine. F you then. That's how I thought. So the show started airing, and my best friend at the time loved the show. And I remember watching it with an attitude like, they suck. You know what I mean? Like, this is horrible. I can't believe anybody watches this show.
Healthy, normal reaction.
So
After rejection, yeah.
Right. So I was like, ugh. And she used to, VHS tape the shows, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
record
90s.
it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So next thing you know, I'm talking. It happened to be one day that I was talking mad shit. And I get a phone call. Hey, they want to audition you for this role, which was the sister. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, now they want to see me? So I had just lost a pilot on MTV, so I was quite devastated. And they told me that, well, at the time I didn't know why, but so I was kind of in a very distraught place, like life is over, I'm never going to work again. So when I auditioned, my girlfriend had auditioned for, let me just backtrack. The pilot that I got recast for, the day that I found out that it was, that we got picked up was the same day that I found out that my best friend was auditioning for the role. For my role. That's how I found out that I was getting
that's
replaced.
gotta feel great.
Right?
Is this the same best friend that was taping the show that you told her you
No,
hated?
different one.
Okay, I was going to say, 'cause you need a new best friend.
No. So there's another girl. So she ended up going in for Passions first. And she was 2 years older than I was. And so they asked her for her age, and she told the age, and they were like, yeah, we're not going to put that down because the character was only supposed to be 16.
They didn't like the age.
Yeah, they didn't like the age because she was like 20, I think she was like 25 or something
over
like
the hill.
that. Right. So so when I went in for the audition, and this is where it gets good, and this is how you know if it's meant to be yours, you can't mess it up, because I go in and of course Jackie's like, so how old are you? And I'm like, oh, I don't really tell my age because some people think that I'm too young, or some people, and I was like 23 or 20, I was 24 at the time. And they were like, she was like, oh, well, honey, just tell me your age. And I'm like, well, no. She goes, I'll tell you my age. And we're going back and forth before we even start the audition. And then she says it again. And I'm like, well, can you just call my agent? And she's like, just go. So I was like, uh-oh. So then I start the audition and I completely mess up on the second line. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I need to start again. And she's like, okay. I do it again, mess up on the second line. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not listening to you. And I could tell she's like, what the is this girl, right? At least this is what I'm thinking she's thinking.
Of course.
Finally, do it, nail it. Was like, yes. And then by the time I get to the car, I'm like, oh, if I could just do it one more time.
Of course.
Yes.
As we all.
I know I could do
Just
it right.
one more, please.
That's all of us.
Right. So then I get a call back. So I'm like, yes. I get a call back like the next day. I go in again. And Lisa's there, who's the executive producer. I get in there and I start. What do? Mess up on the second line. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to start again.
Same line?
Same line.
Every
Same
time.
line. Because if you don't get that second line
Do you
right,
remember that line today?
no. But if
Oh.
you don't, it was like, hey, guess what? Chad, such and such and such. It's something crazy like
Right.
that. So I start again. And as I'm going, I make it through the second line. If I could just make it through the second line, I know I'm golden, right? So I'm doing my thing and I'm just, acting. And next thing you know, I like put my hand on a table and the table's glass and I almost knocked the shit over and I had to kind of like catch it.
Oh my God.
And then was like, yay, hi, thank you.
Thank you.
And then of course, I'm like, yes, oh no, if I could just have another opportunity, I promise I'll do it right. And I get a call back and I'm testing for the show. So then I get to the test.
Make sure there are no glass tables. Or
Right, exactly. So I get to the test. I get coaching on it. I get to the test. And I'm like, what do? Mess up on the second freaking line. And they're like, and
that
Fido,
line.
right. And Fido was the director for
I
that particular
love
one.
Fido.
Yes,
Fido
so he's
Xavier,
there.
shout out to him.
Yes, and so he's there, and I could tell everybody's kind of getting worried, like, what's wrong with her? Like, later he told me, yeah, we were kind of nervous because we were like, we know she's the one, but like, what's going on with her? But I did it with Deanna, and who played Kay at the time, and they had to change my shoes because I was too short to stand next to her. So they
She was
changed
tall.
my shoes, yeah, and then I made it through that line, and of course, then I would have went through my head like, oh, if I could have just. But I went to the dressing room, and this is where I have to give Lindsay, who played Teresa, and then Brooke Kerr, who played Whitney. I walked into the dressing room to say thank you to everyone because they did my hair and makeup, and they both were like, wow, you are amazing.
Awesome.
Like, wow. And young
That's
people
gotta
don't
feel
usually
good.
do that,
Yeah,
right?
no.
And then Ben Masters, who played
Julian
Crane, he was like, listen, I just want you to know you are a phenomenal actress. If you don't book this, you're going to work. And then I walked out of there with the most confidence. I was like, I didn't even think
Yeah,
about it.
babe.
Like, screw
And
that
then-
second line.
Right? I was like, forget them. Like, yeah. And then in the story, what forced Passions to make a decision quicker because they took like a month to make a decision. Yeah, because what's her name was still working. Lena, who was playing Simone at the time, I think was still working. Well, I booked a pilot for Warner Brothers. I booked a commercial all in the same day, and it forced Passions to have to make a decision where they were going to take me or not, so that I could do it. So I ended up working like 2 days. I think I worked 2 days later because that was a Tuesday. Went in for a fitting, got 3 scripts that I had to memorize with just straight up monologues. And I ended up working on Thursday and was scared out of my mother freaking mind.
Well, you could
oh my
not-
God, oh my God, what am I? Oh my God, am I going to do this?
Just thrown
You
right
could
in the
not
fire.
tell.
Do you remember her first day?
I can't. Okay, I was young and wasn't
Because did you
super
start,
aware of
did you-
anything at the
you-
time.
You started.
like I couldn't tell you my own name back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
But I don't remember her first name, but I remember there being a sense come over the entire. We were the Scooby-Doo crew. That's what we did. We were the supernatural kid crew. But there was a sense of calm that came when Christy came.
That's nice.
Yeah, in a real way.
From a frantic, crazy audition to a calm set.
There was a sense of immediate embrace from the people who had been there that were part of the Scooby-Doo crew.
Yeah.
And a sense of just like gratitude and calm when she showed up and was a consummate pro, and she put everybody at ease when she got there.
Oh,
And
it's
you
so
were
nice to
saying this
say.
before we started today when we were sitting here. You guys had a nice moment there where you were telling her she was.
There was a moment where she was just having a moment, and I just remember her coming to me and just saying, without going into too many details, but it was like, I know you can get a prayer through. Would you pray for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember going, yeah, like I just thought that was so sweet, So
And she did that with no judgment or anything. It was, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting all choked up thinking about it.
That's
a great way to
awesome.
start off a
I
great
will say real
relationship.
quick,
I
your
agree.
story opened a whole new perspective for me, because I distinctly remember sitting in my car, or maybe I was in your car, but I was grilling you on your age. It was when you first started. It was like your first 2 weeks. Do you remember this? It was like McDonald's
No.
right across from the CBS Radford.
Never mind.
And I was just like, so how old are you?
And no one
And
knows.
you kept saying, like, you wouldn't tell. And I was like, yeah, I know. Look, this is how old I am. You were like, I don't care how old you are. I didn't ask you. And I am not going to tell you. And
That's
so
so
like,
funny.
now it makes sense why you were so protective.
yeah, because they would not. I mean, because Jackie was like telling people, she was telling some of my friends, like, yeah, that's just too old. We're not going to tell the age. And I was 20. I think I just turned 25. Playing 16.
See, this is what
yeah.
pisses me off about everybody who's considered a public figure having their name on the IMDb without the
their age,
ability to
yeah.
take it
take it
down.
down.
Yeah, because it has it on there, and I mean, to this day,
They won't take it down,
no,
even
they
though when
won't.
you
They won't
ask
take
them,
it
they won't
down.
do it.
No, they won't take it
No.
down, and it's unfortunate because
It does cost work.
yeah, it really does. I mean, that was a thing about another place knew my age. So I found out the MTV people, the reason why they thought they got rid of me and replaced me was because they said I looked too old to play 16. Well, what do? I end up booking Passions, and
play
again,
16.
this is the thing
Yeah.
for all of you actors out there, or whatever job it is. Even when you don't get something, you have that disappointment. Here, I was devastated. I couldn't even get out of bed because I was so devastated of being recast. But that show only did maybe 90 episodes. 3 months. I did 3 years of Passions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
everything-
Over 300 episodes.
It's so frustrating that everything happens for a reason and
It
timing
does,
is everything,
yeah.
but it's so 100% true.
But it was
And
heartbreaking.
it's hard to accept that. It's hard to accept that
I cried.
that release and letting it just come in.
So it's funny, like you guys both came and took people's places. So there's kind of a parallel with no authority. I actually came in and took the place of Josh Keaton, who had left the group. So I know how that feels coming
Yeah.
and being kind of the new.
And
The
I
new kid in
can
school.
go out even farther. With that is I've always been a replacement with the Broadway shows that I did. So like going into a
That's
cast,
because they didn't get it right the first time.
That's right. If you want to call me the show saver, I'm fine with
Just
that.
saying.
That's fine.
The journeyman.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because I didn't know what I was a Young and the Restless fanatic. So when people replace people, I was like, oh my God, what are they thinking? So I was like, oh my God, is that going to happen to me? But I have to say that the Passions, the fans were very receptive of me coming in. I don't know if they were doing that with everyone,
Yeah.
but they really showed me a lot of love. And so when I left and Kathy Doe took over my role, I think she thought I was not going to like her because we ended up working on the same movie with Don Swaby.
Oh, no way.
Who played
Shut
the first
up.
Chad. Yeah.
Amazing.
On the same week that I left and she came in, we worked on a movie together that Don Swaby got us. And so it was his
Small
film.
world.
And she thought I was going to have an attitude. And I was like, oh my God. So is there anything that you want to know? Make sure you make the character yours. Don't try to do what I did. Blah, blah, blah. And
God bless you for that.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and she had put it. She said it in a magazine. She was like, I just thought she was gonna be mean, but she was really so nice and abrasive. And I was like, well, and I said in a magazine, I said, of course I was nice. People have to remember, I'm the one who made the choice to leave because I wanted to give another African American woman an opportunity to have what I had with this character. I had exhausted the character is you know, I couldn't go any further. Plus the contract wasn't what I wanted moving forward. So I was like, you know, let another opportunity for another woman to come in and do it.
That's great. And I feel like a lot of times people think that, oh, you're gonna butt heads. Same thing with Josh and I'm like, no, like we're friends. We get along great, you know. But people just have this perception that just because you know, you're replacing the person that you don't get along with. No, I think what you say is often the case. It's actually something that you share, right? So you've got that in common, which is really
And it
cool.
also depends on how people left, you know, were they kicked out,
of course,
were they, you know, but
Yeah.
this is the choice that, you know, that I made. And how about you?
Ha. Okay. Well, I was on a 3-year deal. They wanted a 5-year deal. I agreed to a 3-year deal. The deal had exhausted, and I wasn't excited to re-sign because despite whatever clause was in the contract about you being able to do a guest star here or a film there, and I was often on payroll but not shooting for 3+ months at a time, which some people are like, oh, what a great gig, you're getting paid to do nothing. No, I'd rather be on set.
Absolutely, I'd rather work.
14, 16-hour day, I would rather be on set. And so because anything that came my way while I was under contract, I was not allowed to do, I didn't resign. And I went down to reoccurring. And I think they were really hunting for someone who would commit to a contract. And I get it. I've written. So I don't want to invest in a character as a writer if I don't have a guarantee that the actor is going to be there tomorrow.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I like that inhibits your ability to create storyline. So that's
I
sort
didn't
of
even
what.
think that was an option. I wish I would have known. But
Well,
I was like,
6 months.
recurring. I was like, really?
Well, 6 months later, they were like, "Thank you, goodbye."
Oh, wow.
Well, that was the problem. I mean, it was my first 2 years. I worked so much; it was ridiculous. And my 3rd year, because I think I can't say I almost tripled my guarantee the first year because that's how much I worked.
Wow.
But the second, and I'm exaggerating a little bit. I'm thinking about how much I made that year, and the other ones could have been residuals, but at least doubled.
Yeah.
The 3rd year, after that big huge storyline and the ratings went up, as far as Soap Opera Digest said,
Yeah.
you know,
yes.
Back in the day when the
I
Nielsen's mattered.
right? And Chad and Whitney and the Simone story, and I had a nice little write up about it, and then nothing. I did not work for the rest of the year.
Ugh.
Wow.
I mean, when I say the rest of the year, I did not work the rest of the year.
Well, let me ask you a question, just strategically. I mean, we can never know what the producers were thinking, although if they do listen to this,
We love you.
We do
Thank
love
you
you
for our first job.
Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Richard.
And maybe they could answer.
But you know, my curiosity then becomes, if you worked less in your last year, your last term, do you think that was strategic on the producer's behalf to make
From
you
what
think
I-
that you wouldn't be working, to
Yeah.
make you negotiate for less, or do you think it was just a
I think
writer's
it was
decision?
From what I heard from one of the adults on the show, they said, yeah, usually around the 3rd year when you're getting ready to renegotiate, you don't work as much.
Wow.
And as you know, the money gets less and less, and then it makes you more hungry to do it, because
Yeah.
as soon as Kathy came on, I think her character Simone like blew up again. Same thing with Chad. The
Yep.
character Chad, when Don left, he wasn't working that much. When Chad came on, he started working.
Yeah.
So I think it's strategic, which I think is really sad, because if they had not have done it that way, I would have probably stayed on.
Oh, wow.
And because what I was asking for in my new contract was to work more, because I also, so Will Smith and Jada Pinkett had a show called All of Us. Now, again, this is from my perspective, whether it's really true or not, but I had so many people come up to me and say, oh my God, did you audition for the show? And I'm like, what show? Will Smith and Jada, you know, the casting director really feels like you should be playing Jada. And I think I just spit.
I did that earlier.
Oh yeah. So they, from what I know, the casting director wanted me to come in to audition for this role, which I thought was also funny, because I didn't audition. And the girl that my agent or my manager at the time represented ended up getting her on there, but he never told me about it.
But at least it wasn't your best friend this time.
I know, right?
So that's good.
This is not the VHS girl.
But I would have stayed on the show
if you felt like you'd have been used more and utilized.
Yeah, I mean, because I like to work. And one of the directors said to me, he pulled me aside. He says, "You're too good for the show. Like, you're too good. You're too talented." And I was like, wow, that's so nice.
Isn't it weird though that being really talented would actually cost you work? Like that's what I did. I've gotten that note before. It's like,
well,
like,
overqualified.
Here's
the whole
thing.
point is that we're working on our craft to become these performers, and yet we're too polished of a performer, or we're too that I always found that very interesting.
I think it's different from show to show or film to film, but here's what I will say. Sometimes talent, not always, but sometimes talent can mean that you are difficult to work with.
Yes.
That you are a pain in the ass, that you think that you're, everybody's on your time, you're not on their time. So
Right.
I can see there being a fear there, because there have been people who are hugely talented who have sort of created this wake of
Right.
of being demanding and so on and so forth. I will say, when you look at like shows like soap operas that have been on for years and years and years and years, people are going to follow the brand of the show, and they realized 40 years ago, 30 years ago, that they could interchange people in and out, and that it's not going to shift the audience one way or another.
Right.
They're attached to more than one character at a time. They're attached to some hunky dude. They may root for you, but they're
It's kind of like
they've got at least
it's like Menudo.
it's like Menudo. So like they've got at least two crushes that they're watching, whether it's some female they idolize or what have you. So I think when it comes to a soap opera, as opposed to even engaging with someone who has a lot of talent, and there's exceptions to every rule, I think that it's like, okay, well, if this one's giving us a little too much of a headache, or the contract negotiation is not yes to our first offer, we will replace, because they see everybody as interchangeable, where, primetime television is very different.
Yeah.
Right.
And also, too, I just want to say, I want to give credits to the producers and over at Passions, because they were so wonderful to me. And it was one of the best shows that I've worked on. I still stay in touch with majority of the people there.
Yeah, me too.
Even if I don't get a chance to see everyone, we converse online. And I also know that they were doing their job. And hindsight, looking back, when it came to the contract stuff, two things that I had to realize, and I realized that then, was one, things were starting to get cut back because there were a lot of characters that we were not working. Everybody in a whole was kind of not working as much, except for Teresa and, like the main people. Sure. And two, I did not originate the character, so my character was not as popular as a Teresa. Now, had I started that character, my shit would have been off the chain. You know what I mean? Simone would have been like, blah, 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 blah.
But it's so funny that you bring up cutbacks, because I remember having real flowers on set. Like, soap operas, there's bouquets of something in every corner of every set. I remember when the flowers went fake. I remember when they were like, fuck your flower budget.
Well, and I remember, what I remember is us working from 6, getting there at 6 in the morning, not leaving till 11:30 at night.
Correct.
Yeah.
That shifted after the first year. It was like, so we're only working, we're only going to be here for 5 hours.
Right.
So like those hours.
The overtime and the Saturdays.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are like answering all of our questions that we'd written down, but just going into the it's like seeing it coming to an end. Like, when did you know that was happening? I know you already started like talking about like the the flowers and stuff, but that was like the show. But your particular characters, when did you realize that was coming to an end? And then like the final scene and that final day of working with the show that was like your first big show, as well as such a long running show for you for 3-5 years. That's a long time. You have such a family.
I didn't see it coming.
You didn't see it coming.
No, I didn't see it coming. The show went on long after I had come and gone on the show.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming. I was in my late teens when I started. I left before I had turned 21, and like everybody that age, your emotions are running high. Your perspective of life and where you fit in it is completely askew. you're overly emotional. You think that this is just the beginning of your life and a springboard, and so you may not treasure the blessing as you should. And I made bad decisions, and so when reoccurring, the call was like, this part of your life is over now. It was sort of I was shocked. And it took me a long time to get healed inside mentally and emotionally from that shock.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
definitely understandable.
Oh, that's awesome that you were able to even admit, that you made bad choices. That's
I definitely
it's not
did.
easy to say.
And one of the things that helped in a huge way in my healing is like when Passions ended, a lot of the producers and crew and such ended up moving over to Days. And Lisa gave me another chance as an adult who like now has her shit together. And, so when I reoccurred on Days for a while, that to me felt like I could finally close that chapter that had been gnawing at my psyche.
Yeah.
And how I saw myself and my self-worth. I could finally put that to bed and move on into proper adulthood
Right.
Yeah.
with having healed and gotten closure.
What was her name that gave you second chance?
Well, Lisa Hesser was her name when
Thank you, Lisa.
when we were on Passions, but she's been married since. And what's her new last name?
Starts with a
Lisa
C.
Di Cazote.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Rolls
I'm
right off the tongue.
I'm dyslexic, so and there's no telling what kind of name is
I
gonna come out of
probably
my mouth.
butchered it, but we both know
Yeah.
it's Lisa.
Yeah.
How
Lisa's
did it,
amazing.
How did it go for you?
I just remember like not all I don't even know if I asked for like a bump in, because I told my agent, and I'm not really sure what they asked for, but I remember saying, look, I don't even care about the money. I just want more episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted more episodes because I did not want what happened, to happen again. Like it sucked to be sitting there twiddling my thumbs and not being able to work when other people are calling me, asking me to be on other shows.
Exactly.
Because I started off as a sitcom actress, and that's my forte. You know what I mean? Which is why Passions was such a great fit, because I got to be funny when I needed to be funny. So when I got ready to leave and I realized that the contract wasn't going to work, Lisa sent me a bouquet of flowers, and
Real ones.
real ones. And I remember one of the older cast members was like, "Oh my God, where'd you get the flowers from?" I was like, "Well, Lisa." She was like, "What? She never does that, to send flowers to anybody who leaves." Which I don't know how true that is, but I just
flowers.
but I just thought that was really sweet, because I would have stayed, but I love to work. But that show was such a blessing, and even getting up at 6 a.m, listen, I was and people I remember Jesse and all of them used to look at me
What's
and be
wrong
like,
with you?
"Why are you so
What are you
happy?"
early?
But they some of them, like you, well, no, because you said you had already done, but some of them, it was their first show, so they were some people were taking it for granted to a certain degree.
Right.
I did,
You,
yeah.
you,
You know what I mean?
you don't
But,
realize
like that this
how
doesn't
special
keep
the
going
moment
right.
is.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you don't know if you're
Sometimes.
going to work again, and then the strike
Every time,
happened.
right?
And, yeah,
Oh
the
my
strike
God! Then the
happened,
strike
and-
killed everything.
Oh my
and
God.
then reality TV took over.
Yeah,
And here
and
we
it was-
are still battling it.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it was a tough road of like, oh snap,
Sounds like it was a really kind of family atmosphere there. Like you had good friends there. You had people that
Amazing.
cared about you,
Amazing
which is
people, yeah.
awesome. Which is awesome. I had a question that I just thought about a little while back. Fast forward a little bit. Okay, so we talk about writers now. How far ahead are they writing these episodes?
They wrote a month in advance.
A month,
Okay.
a month in advance.
A month in advance, because you have the holidays for Christmas where you
Yes.
get a break, and then also if anything happens, they to a particular person, because I remember something happened to one of the actors and they couldn't come in. It was like a little tragic kind of thing that happened. So they had to, but we were so far in advance, at least 3 to 4 weeks in advance,
Yeah.
that if anything, kind of
They're
went
able
down.
to
Now-
do the
Yeah,
rewrites.
which is why the whole thing with Josh, that played Timmy,
That
he
was a
had-
freak occurrence.
I
Just to
know,
say
but
it.
that was all him.
So just
Yeah.
to clarify,
Yeah.
because I know this is a big. Everybody was talking about Timmy, and Timmy played the little person.
Yes.
And so
Well,
elaborate.
Josh
Josh
played
played-
Timmy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My fault.
so-
Yes.
so
Right.
when
His name
he-
is Josh. Played Timmy.
Right. So when he did, so he dies on the show, not in life. He dies on the show, but then he comes back as an angel. And the reason why, from what I remember, if I'm correct, they did that because he was getting ready to go get surgery.
Yes.
So then he ends up dying during surgery.
The same day, the same way his character
Same
passed.
day, the same
The
way.
same day, the same
Wow.
way.
And then he comes back as an angel because they had already shot those episodes 3
Right.
Oh my
weeks
God, my heart is
prior.
breaking.
You
That's
know.
just like
Just-
chills,
Yeah,
goosies.
We all, yeah. So
Wow.
so that's how you know that we shoot so many days in advance. But he died on the show the same day
same
he
day
died
that
in
it
life.
aired,
So
yeah.
when the news, I happened to be watching the Channel 2 News, CBS,
Ah.
and I'm like, they were like, oh, Timmy from Passions dies, and I'm like, well, yeah, because I watched the episode that
Right.
day,
Yeah,
and then
right.
they're like, he died in real life, and I was like, wait, what?
I
You
think
know?
I remember that too. Watching
Oh,
the
I
news, just being
remember.
like really confused about
Yeah.
did he just die on the episode in real life, and
Yeah.
the confusion of that.
Very
I
sad
remember
story.
that.
Yeah,
I can't believe that
It
happened.
was devastating. Everybody was very upset
Everybody.
because everybody
course.
felt like he worked too much.
He
that His
did.
mom had him moving, but then which I'm sure that there's some truth to it, but also too, it might have been what he really
But
wanted.
that is
Sure.
what he wouldn't want to be anywhere else. That's the thing, is you say he works too much, but at the same time,
That's like his
that's
happy
where
place.
he
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to be.
Sure.
Right.
you
But
know?
I wasn't there long enough to know, but the other cast members who had been there from the beginning, they knew more than I did, and that was their opinion on it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I think Eric had a question about memorizing lines, like tricks. What was
Well,
that?
so you have the month, but I mean, like, how? What's your
No, you don't have.
You
a
don't
month.
have
No.
the month.
You have a- you
You're
have a-
working that month.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
this is
you're
what
getting
this
like
is
a
my,
stack of scripts this big.
What is your
Yeah.
what are your secret powers of remembering these lines? I can barely remember these, and there's 4 lines. What are
Well-
your secret powers? Because I'm terrible at it. I
Yeah.
cannot. let
You've
it
got a
meld.
trick. I'm going to let you give your trick. I will say, at first, it's hard to get a grasp on it. And when there are storyline changes, you can see them coming in a soap and a serial. We lived in the same day for such a long period of time, having similar conversations so often. I remember I wore the same sweater, living in the same day for 3.5 months. Okay? No bullshit. So the memorization doesn't get that hard because you've known this character for years. You've
Yeah.
been this character for a very long time, and you know what she cares about and how she thinks and,
And the
what
rhythms
she's
Of course, yeah.
and
that
the
makes
rhythms
sense.
and who's up to what and
Right.
that kind of thing. But you've got tricks. Let's hear your tricks.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
so yeah, the hard part about doing a soap is, you work that night. The next day, you have 3 episodes that you're doing all at the same time, and the only difference, because from a soap, the reason why they have the same storyline over and over, except for the exception of our stuff, because our stuff was just months the same,
Out there.
Right. But the reason why they do it is because the average person only watches a soap maybe 2 to 3 times a week. So if they move
Oh.
too fast,
Oh, look at that.
then people will stop watching it because they're so far behind, they don't know
Gotcha.
where they are. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why they keep the same on a like Young and the Restless. It'll be the same soap opera. I mean the same storyline for
Storyline.
the whole week. And
Gotcha.
all they do is change a couple of the words, which makes it difficult because you have to get it right.
Right.
Because you have to show a little bit of progression, but not too much, right? So it makes it a little bit more difficult to memorize. Now, my tricks that I do is I really try to make sure that I'm feeling it inside first. Like I'll go moment by moment and not just try to memorize the whole thing at one time. The other thing that I do so that I can feel it emotionally, like get the emotional side. The other thing is I actually write down the first letter of each word in the whole entire
Shakespeare
paragraph.
trick.
And so if you write down the first letter of each word,
We're recording this. I can look at it later. I was about ready to write it down.
yeah, and there's actually a site that will transcribe it for you or transpose it for you. But I actually write down dang, I didn't bring my thing out to show you because I'm back on my script. But I write down each word, and your brain automatically will know what the words are just based off of that one letter.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's if you're trying to memorize
All this
it.
time.
Yes, if you're trying to memorize it really quickly, or to make the difference between this one and the other one are kind of somewhat the same.
Interesting.
Those are pretty much. I mean, there's
got the
more,
secrets.
but that's the one that I can give.
So is
quickly.
it kind of like a visual? You're snapshotting the shape of the letters.
I think so.
recall that.
There's something that when I read about it, there's something about it that your brain will record what the words are just by looking at the letter. Will
Right,
tell you
right.
what the whole entire and I mean, because
like.
you'll have like paragraphs like this.
And it squishes
You
to
know.
a little snapshot. That's cool.
And then you can just and then you'll just automatically start to know what it is.
Very interesting.
Excellent.
We're gonna kind of move on a little bit in just a second, but I just want to ask before we move on from this big
Particular passion section.
particular passions participle.
PPS.
There you go.
Particular passions section.
You're well on your
There
way,
you
Eric.
go.
You're well on
Bam.
your way.
What up?
Okay, so
Okay.
one memory that sticks out from your time on Passions, like one thing that really just sticks out to you that either was really crazy or just really awesome or really awkward, like just one thing that just really, one memory that you always look back and say, you know what, that was an interesting time.
Okay. There's a lot. There's a lot of beautiful things. There's a lot of not so great things. There's
Sure.
there's a mixed bag of potpourri there. I will say something that still causes panic and embarrassment
You're living it in real time right now.
and guilt to this day is I will never forget. There was like a wedding. It was like a crane wedding or something. And they had the cast lined up as the wedding procession was coming out of the church, and we were to throw birdseed at the people walking out. Well, Jesse Metcalf was across from me. He started it. They came across before we started taping, and they had us all stick our hand in a bag of birdseed and, like, you know, be ready on action. Well, action gets called the first take, and I get pelted with sharp birdseed, and I see who's across from me, and I'm like, all right, motherfucker, it's on. It's on. Fuck you, it's on. So I get, take two. I get my sweaty little snowball of birdseed, right? I'm going to give it to him because he thinks he can get away with this. Rah! And I threw this birdseed while the camera was rolling, and Andrea Evans got it in the eye. Yes.
Oh no.
And
Dun, dun, dun.
my blood ran cold, and I just started, oh my God, I'm shaking now just thinking about it. And I started shaking, and I went up and I tried to apologize, and I'm on the verge of tears, and I'm trying to explain what happened and why, and nobody wants to hear it because essentially I'm the only person that got caught doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if Jesse was caught, he would never have gotten in trouble back in the day. Some people back then got in trouble for shit. Other people did not get
I
in
can
trouble
understand that.
or did get in trouble, so it was absolutely that situation. And she just, like, they had to rush her away. They had to flush her eye. Like, now I'm holding up production because
Oh no,
because of playing around on set when I shouldn't have been doing it. I was 17, 18 years old. I'm an idiot. Shenanigans. And I see Andrea Evans from time to time. To this day, I see her from time to time. And I've never mustered up the words to say, I'm sorry for this specific thing.
Yeah.
I just, every time I see her, apologize for being an idiot as a kid. And so when I look back on specific memories, that's one that to this day causes an emotional reaction of panic, guilt, anxiety, fear.
Yes.
And Andrea, if you ever hear this, I am sorry. And when I apologize every time I see you, I specifically mean for that.
Yes.
birdseed.
Well,
the
thank you
birdseed.
for
She's probably
sharing.
not even thinking about that.
I
too.
hope
That's
not.
so
Well,
funny.
now it's off your chest.
Yeah. That's funny.
Christy?
It's so funny. I didn't have any stories. I was like, God, I don't have anything like crazy bad or anything. And I think the only reason why I remember this is because she brought up her name. But Andrea was, she was her mother was a breast cancer survivor, and I don't think she was, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I know it. I think her mother was. And my grandmother had passed away from breast cancer, and she did a walk for my grandmother, and had like a little thing like set up like to show people. And I mean, it was and she didn't say anything. I didn't know she was going to do it. And this out of the blue, she just brought me this big, huge poster with my grandmother's name on it.
Oh.
And I just
so sweet.
I just thought that was so nice. That's a good memory. I don't have any crazy memories.
The guilt just got worse.
Such a good person.
Yeah.
I heard somebody threw birdseed in her.
Oh yeah, remember that time?
Okay.
All right.
One more thing, actually, I forgot. Romances on set.
Oh,
off set?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, come on, man.
yeah. I mean,
With there's a bunch of
Come-
attractive
okay.
people.
Hey, everybody, see this? Okay, so I lost my virginity to my co-star.
Oh wow.
And then I talked him into getting matching wedding ring tattoos the day I turned 18. I took him to jump out of a plane with me, and we got matching wedding ring tattoos. Now, it had a Band-Aid on it because yesterday was my first session in tattoo removal.
Oh wow.
Wow.
It's my only tattoo.
Can I
yep,
see?
Yeah. He
Yesterday
has a
was your-
matching one, yeah. Yesterday was my first tattoo removal session.
Wow,
So,
that is. I mean, that is deep.
We dated for like a year, and
Do I know this guy?
Bruce Michael Hall.
I do know Bruce. In fact, Bruce is the reason why I joined No Authority. Believe it or not.
I believe it.
And I'll tell that story later.
Okay.
Your story is.
So that's it. Yeah, there was romances on set. Everybody dated everybody for the most part, except for you. Did you? Hell no. You know why? Because she's smarter than us.
She's like, nah. She's like,
You
I
see
was
my
over here.
face? Like,
No.
Everybody
I was
dated.
writing down first letters of words.
Everybody dated everybody. I'm pretty sure that every Miguel dated every K in real life. That, at least while I was there, I saw all that business happen.
I love it.
Deanna.
Correct. You dated Deanna.
Not that long.
You know what?
And
You
then-
are
and then
part
she-
of a
and then she-
fraternity in Hollywood that
And then she hooked up with my best friend at the time. Best friends, man. I'm telling you.
you know what? There is a support group for that here in Hollywood. No, much love to Deanna. I'm sure she's
Absolutely. We
she's
were
settled
kids.
down.
We
And
were all kids.
We were all kids. We're all silly kids. But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of.
You're together for so much time. You know, like
Yeah.
you're it's like that. Those are your people. You
Those
know,
are your
I mean,
people. And it was a
she's
beautiful
like,
cast.
I mean,
my
come
God,
on.
like it
Gorgeous
was a
people.
gorgeous cast.
Right.
You really didn't. Anybody?
Who would I have dated?
I don't know.
Oh,
Did you
no.
fancy anybody?
No.
fancy.
No, nobody.
No.
Okay.
I wish.
If you had fancied, you would have pursued.
Well, I mean,
I assume.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I would have loved that.
Right,
But
right.
I mean, my problem was that
No wonder Lisa sent you flowers.
I was the only one that didn't cause issues.
Now you don't feel
right?
so bad about not getting
you
flowers.
didn't get the call from HR.
I mean, I was playing 16 and I was 25. So the group that I hung out with was the Scooby-Doo kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to, I mean, there were 3 different groups. You had the Scooby-Doo kids, which was us, Deanna, and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
Bruce, and all
Jesse
of them.
and-
Yeah.
Then you had the semi-adult people, which was Lindsay and Brooke and Chad and those characters.
And either Travis or
Sure.
Eric,
Right.
depending on who's
working,
who's
and
working.
then you had the adults. So even people, and some of them really thought I was 16.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
because
I
I
could see
remember.
that.
Do you remember when I had? Okay, so
I think
did
Ben
have an
Masters
incident.
really thought you were like the youngest person on the cast.
You know who thought I was like really younger than her? Well, yeah, that wasn't correct English, but
That's all right.
Was Mackenzie. Mackenzie thought that I was younger than her until one day she's like, how old are you? And I was like, blah, blah, blah. She's like, wait, what? I think I'm older than her by like a couple of months. But she plays older. You know what I
Right.
mean? She played older.
In my mind, I thought she was older than the Scooby-Doo crew because she
Yeah.
was automatically put into the young adult group.
Yeah, she was in a
Right.
different, she was in
Yeah.
the
She was
adult group.
playing
She was in the adult group.
Yeah, she was in the adult group.
Yeah.
But I did have one incident where so I was off. I told you I had that time where I wasn't working at all. And they asked me to come in as a freebie. And well, how long is it going to be to do this photo shoot? Okay, so it's only going to be, 2-3 hours. Fine, no big deal. Great, of course. It's great. It's a great thing. They're going to promote the black people on the show. They were doing it for everyone, but they were really doing a big push for the black community. So I'm all excited and I'm there, but they had me there for like 9 hours.
I believe that.
And I didn't get paid.
Mm-mm.
And I brought that shit up.
Oh, you did?
Remember, I was in the meeting with all you guys. It was the meeting with all you guys. And I was like, hey, and I don't know if you were there because were you there when the new Chad came on?
Charles, gets a little foggy. And if there was a meeting, I don't know. If I remember.
So what happened was, they said, hey, this is what's happening. This is where we're moving to, our storylines. And they said, does anybody have any questions, problems, concerns? And I said, well, yeah, if we do another photo shoot and you're going to have me there for like 9 hours, I would like to get paid. Mm-hmm. Well, what was this for? Well, it was for blah, blah, blah. Well, you should be grateful that we did a photo shoot for, the Russell family. And I was like, yeah, I'm extremely grateful. But I would have liked to have gotten paid like everybody else who had been there working and getting paid. But you had me there for 9 hours and I didn't get a check.
Right.
And we went back and forth. And then next, they said to me, we didn't know you talk this much.
I vaguely remember you telling me all this.
Yeah, that's what she said to me. That's what she said in front of everybody. But,
Good for you,
again...
man.
Well, yeah, because I'm not 16.
Exactly.
I am 26 or 27 by now.
Yes.
You're an adult.
I'm an adult.
Right.
I'm almost 30.
Right.
And yes, I'm going to talk that much because I should have gotten paid.
Yes, you should have.
And if we had known, my
what's
agent-
going on.
yeah.
You know what's going on.
Yeah,
You know
so
the
I
business.
should have got, a couple of grand for being there that particular day. So, yeah, that's my only scandal. That's my scandal. I guess I should keep talking while they're figuring out what
Well,
they're
it's like
gonna
women. It's a story of women's empowerment.
Yes, I wasn't afraid then, and I sure as hell ain't afraid now.
All right. Well, good for you.
Hello.
Speak up.
Or maybe that's
So we'll go to segment 2 officially.
Officially, but lots have been covered.
We've covered a lot, but we're officially going to segment 2. Moving on. Right.
Moving on.
So after you left, kind of what was the very next job?
This is exciting. You start. Yours is
Scrubs.
yeah.
Really
Scrubs.
nice.
Scrubs was my next
That's
gig.
a great gig to go
recurred
to.
on there.
Kidding me?
Yeah, I tested for a couple of shows. Some of them came because I was on Scrubs. And then the strike happened. And then that just kind of went down. My saving grace was the fact that I do voiceover work. I do something called looping, which is like the best freaking thing in the world.
Yep.
But I mean, I had a lot of different shows. I was doing a whole bunch of sitcoms, All of Us, Eve, Lincoln Heights. I mean, I was doing a whole bunch of
super
different.
busy.
Yeah, I mean, I was working. And
What is
then
looping for
looping for
those
those that don't know? So you have voiceover work where you do voiceovers like for characters on. I don't want to tell people my secret. I don't want
No,
to
yeah, I was just
Wait a minute.
If
Hold
this
on
is-
now.
This is the best
No,
kept
I'm just
secret in
kidding.
Hollywood. Why
Yeah,
are you
so
telling
If this
people?
is giving something away, we don't want to.
No, I'm joking.
Okay.
I'm so
Okay, good.
joking.
Sort of.
Sort of. ADR, you go in, you do ADR work, which is for characters on, what do you call them? Cartoons and so forth.
Yeah.
There's something that's called looping, which is ADR work for the people who are extras in the background. And so,
okay.
So if there's a big party, we go in,
Oh,
fill in their
interesting.
voices.
Got it.
It's not easy, but it can be easy depending on the type of jobs. But like I did the whole season of Quantico, the first 2, and you have to know lingo for FBI, CSI, like fire, police. But then as you're watching these extras in the background and you see them talking, you have to be able to look at their mouth if they're saying, you got to be able to look, and you only have 2 seconds because they're like, okay, Christy, you're up. This is the character. And you have to go,
You're matching.
so you have to
something.
match what they're saying,
right.
and you only have like 2 seconds to figure that out and do it.
It's like double Dutch.
Yeah. so it's not easy, but there are a lot of easy shows. Like, I did X-Men and, or sometimes you might go in and loop specific characters for their effects, like
Efforts.
Deadpool and stuff like that I did. And so a lot
Do you
of
ever
different shows.
Do you ever play a game like you're at the park and you're watching somebody from a distance, and then you like
Try to-
do looping for
Yeah,
them?
like
Yeah, of
BLR,
course.
like bad lip reading.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love
the best.
BLR.
Like, or looking at their body language. Like, I love going to the airport, and if I'm sitting with someone, I'm like, well, ooh,
Look
you
at
know,
that.
she wasn't. He was all excited to
pissed.
see him,
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, you know, I was like, oh yeah, she was seeing another band. She's like, yeah, I just went to go
Just
see my
creating
new
a
band.
whole other
Oh
story.
yeah,
the
yeah,
world.
Oh,
yeah,
it's one of the
So I
best
do that
games.
all the time. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah.
Oh, all the time.
I love how
All the time.
how we're doing your interviews
No,
for
that's
you.
please, it's
I
fine.
fully
How about
like,
you?
yeah, dude. I fully like neighbors in my building where I think I know their lives inside and out, and I can tell you who's more interested in one than the other, and like what they're sticking around for.
Is this
and
your
what's
at-home
funny.
looping?
This is well, it's just like making conversation at home with the boyfriend, where it's just like,
Oh,
you know
yep.
what I think their lives really in, like that kind of thing. It's also, you know,
Right.
people watching the airport's a great
Airport's a great place to do it.
because
Perfect.
people are frenzied.
But I want to know about you. What did you do after you left?
Oh, frogs.
Yeah, so
I do love how you guys are. We're just kind of we're,
great.
we're,
Yes,
we're,
keep
we're just
going.
observing. We're just observing.
Well, okay, so I, in my 18-year-old mind, thought like Passions is just a springboard to my big movie star career. And so as my time at Passions was coming to an end, I started, I funded a short film that I got a role in, and it was like, oh, the budget fell through, you know, the story, blah, blah, blah. Can you give us money? So I gave him money. And it was like 35 millimeter. And I was like, this is it. I have something of me looking filmic. Yay.
filmic.
Yes, filmic and stylized. Crickets. Crickets.
What-
And like my savings was wiped from that.
Was it
So-
released? Was it?
Yeah.
Is it something?
Let's skip it.
Something. Something
Move
we're
ahead,
not sharing.
Move ahead.
No, let's skip it because also
skipping.
my ex-boyfriend was
It
not
was-
Bruce, but the one after him
Okay.
was involved in
Skipping to Malou.
or was it the one after him? It doesn't matter. Point is, moving on. And then, you know, I really sort of needed to find my roots and sensibility and sense of self. And so I quit trying to like keep up with the Joneses in Hollywood at the time. And the writer's strike had happened too. So it was harder to get auditions for anything because there was no
there was
auditions
none.
for
Nothing in
anything.
production,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Nothing for 9 months.
No, even the threat of
And even
like
later than
yeah,
that.
you like even if you were caught working on like your friend's something, like you would be in breach and all this stuff.
Because of the union. Because
Because the writers went on strike, then we could not pursue work. And then that's why all of the why all of the soap operas got canned, because once we could not work as actors on any of these shows, they were like, well, we got to put something in these plays for
Right.
9 months.
Yeah.
So they started doing reality shows and game shows. And when they realized that producers could make and save so much money because
Right.
they're not paying
That's
reality
why
star
there's
actors.
5 judge shows on daytime TV.
Right. So that's why all of our shows got all those
Oh, I'm familiar.
daytime.
Yeah.
Got canned. And you know, the people that had, I mean, look what happened with Days. They got rid of like all of the main characters that have been there forever, and then eventually brought them back like maybe like a year or two later or something like that. But a lot of that stuff happened because, I mean, all these people were getting paid for years, and they were like, oh no, we're gonna snip.
Yeah, and then when the unions merged, that sort of had its own ripple effect.
SAG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When SAG and
Oh,
AFTRA
okay.
merged, that had a ripple effect because what was once a budget on an AFTRA show then was affected by the new SAG guidelines and so on and so forth. Anyway, we're going back to the point. So I sort of took a few years to get my mind right and become a proper adult.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into film. Not because that was something I was really aiming towards or was ready for or was like kicking down the door because now is the right time. It just sort of started slowly coming to me in random ways. And so I tepidly went back out there and started taking swings at things. And then since then, it's been sort of a string of indie film with guest stars and reoccurring things like peppered in between. Nothing quite as glamorous as Scrubs, though, darling.
Wow, that was my claim to fame like 13 years ago. It's like you can't live on that no more.
I love it though, dude, because it's like you left Passions is like I'm on Scrubs now. I'm on like the #1
Yeah,
comedy
good for
in
you.
the
And
country
he was nominated too that year.
when
He
it was at its
nominated.
height.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like holy shit.
Yeah. I think for a Grammy and for an Emmy or something like that on that particular year. So I came in and I knew that's another thing where like once again, if you're in this business, like when I went in for Scrubs, I knew they wanted someone else because my girlfriend worked on the show, and they were like, listen, they really want XY, and which was a friend of mine. We weren't friends, but we knew each other very well.
Okay.
And she was like, look, this is who they want, but she's not funny in this area. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I was like, really? So I got my friends. I had a comedian come over to my house, my best friend from college, and another guy that was like we would always work together, some other actors. And we got together and we ran it, and we just came up with so many different funny things to do. So when I went into the audition, and I'm always going to give credit to Sidney Poitier's daughter. Sidney Poitier is her name, because she went in first, and she had everybody in there like rolling, and we were just like, because this is right, because my girlfriend on the show said, listen, the material's not funny, you have to make it funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the thing about Scrubs material.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not funny, you have to make it funny. And that was the problem that people couldn't get, because it's not written as a sitcom. It's like, at that time it was, single camera, which people didn't get. So what ended up happening was she goes into the audition, and everybody's like falling on the floor. All you hear is and all of the girls in the room are like,
What?
what does she, right.
How did that?
Right.
Which
Like,
part is
yeah.
this?
Right. Like, what could she have done? But she was so nice, because she came out and she goes, listen, they were not laughing at what I did. They were laughing at something that I said. So don't let that throw you off. And now who does that?
Who does that?
Right? No one does that.
No.
Right?
I would have walked out and said,
I'd
the
be like-
position has been filled.
Right. I would have walked in and be like, good luck, bitches. And
Yeah,
walked
right?
out like this, right?
No, that's class.
But she didn't.
Yeah.
She didn't do that. So everybody goes in, and I go in last. And Bill Lawrence was in the audition at the time, and he says, "Listen, this material is horrible. I'm so sick of it, and don't take it personal that I don't laugh, because the material's horrible." So I was like, okay. So I did my little thing, and I don't know if you guys
Thanks.
saw it, but like the episode, but like I do this thing where I walk behind like a thing, like the stairs.
That little,
yeah,
okay,
where like you're walking down the stairs behind the bar, but there's really no stairs.
Right.
And I do this other stuff, and Bill Lawrence laughs out loud, and he was like, wow, you are really funny. And Zach was in the room, and the casting directors. Before I got to my car, they called and offered the role. Now,
Yes. Love
despite
that.
it, but what I do want to say is, because I knew they were channeling someone else, I did these little stick figures. I read this book called The Magic of Believing. No. When God Winks. That's the one I read. When God Winks. They're both the same type of book. But I drew these stick figures of people laughing and them saying, oh my God, and the executive producer and Zach, and everybody's laughing. Ha, 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 ha.
So you were visualizing.
So
It's like
I
your vision
visualized.
board?
Yes. So everybody in the room did exactly with what I asked for in the.
So you
on
were
that
the
thing.
writer of that.
Exactly. I do that all the
Situation.
time. I do that all the time.
She's the man behind the curtain.
I like it.
Yeah, so that's what I use. I use that power manifestation. I don't play
Absolutely.
I need
around.
to talk to her, have her manifest some things.
Like some shots of tequila. Because
Yeah,
didn't we
man.
talk about there being a halftime
I know. I'm
situation?
like, where's that damn doggone tequila at?
Well, I think
I have a question really quick about Scrubs.
Yes.
Did they okay, I know the
talking.
the
This is
outer
business.
bit was for the hospital was off Moore Park, what they used.
Yeah, it
as
was on
the-
Moore Park. Yeah.
But was there actually shooting done there, or that was just the outside scenes?
No. We shot in that hospital
Really?
before they tore it down.
Oh wow! And then now it's like an apartment building.
Yeah.
course.
Sadly.
Yeah.
So
An
it-
apartment building where many people died. Remember that, guys. Remember that.
remember.
Stay away.
It's haunted. You should ask for less rent.
I think it is time.
It is time.
It is time for the best part of the real ShowCast. Are you ready?
Are you
Drum
going
roll,
to get
please.
naked?
7 questions, 7 questions, 7 questions to show who wins.
Trivia time.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I'll lose. Go ahead.
No, she's good. Okay, here is shit.
I will start. Question
Okay.
number 1. What was the number 1 song in America the day Passions debuted? July 5th, 1999. You can just give the artist.
Christy's face.
If it
it's
wasn't
not
black,
multi-
I'm not gonna know it.
Wait, is this
If it
multiple
wasn't
choice?
R&B,
Nope.
This is stupid. Next time, can I just say next time this should be multiple choice,
multiple
right?
choice.
Give people a chance.
We will give hints
Give hints.
Okay, I'm gonna
I'm
say.
not gonna know it if it's not R&B. Go ahead.
Let's see.
because it's a tough question.
Wait, let's give us some hints.
Okay, so you want to give the first hint?
Well, her love don't cost a thing.
That's
Love don't cost
But that's not the
a
song.
thing. J-Lo.
J-Lo, Jennifer
true.
Lopez.
Is the artist?
1999. We were surprised by this.
It's
She had a number one
the
hit.
Waiting for Tonight.
If you had my love.
You win.
I win.
You
That
win
was a
your
hard
own
question.
game.
That's
Call
right, that was
me
a hard question.
baby.
Okay.
I saw her in concert last year.
She's such
Jade,
a hard
good show?
worker.
Yeah,
she's great.
good.
All right. Next question.
Question number 2.
Hey, girl.
According to Wikipedia, how many episodes of Passions aired?
No idea.
Whoever's closest.
Like the Price is Right rules.
Yes.
Closest
Okay.
without going over.
Closest without going over. I'm gonna say 3,063.
Chrissy.
Well, let's see, right when I was about to leave, we did 1,000 episodes, and that was in 2004. So you started in 99.
And left in 03.
Wait, so 99, that's 99, 2000, 2000, so 2000. It's 4. So,
And there were 9 seasons total.
right, so I would say less than 3,000, but more than 2,000. That's what I would say.
But technically,
What did you say?
I said 3063.
do you want to give
Yeah.
a range? We'll give you a.
No, I'm gonna Price is
Okay.
Right this.
Just-
There it is.
All right,
That's
Christy.
my
Yes.
answer.
Christy takes that. It's 2,331.
You could have said $1.
You could have
I
said one.
I said, yeah.
True.
Question 3.
This is a good one.
After Passions, what was the next daytime soap opera created for American network television?
Oh,
What?
What was the next daytime soap opera? Soap opera.
Soap
I'll
opera.
get there. I didn't have a shot tequila yet.
Soap opera after Passions left?
There was
created
one?
for the American network television.
did it ever air? Or is it just?
Trick question. You
guys both
Passions
win.
was the last one.
It was
That's
the-
what I was like. what
Passions
are you-
was the
Yeah,
last
right?
one created.
Like, we permanently destroyed it for everyone else.
You shut it down.
We
That's
shut
what I
it
was like.
down.
Shut it down.
It's like,
Trick
there's no other
question.
show that
No,
came on. They
we
were
mic
canceling
dropped.
shows.
They were, yeah.
I was like, they were canceling shows.
Left and right, man.
Okay.
Okay.
Good question.
What was the name of the theme song and who sang it?
Breathe.
Who wrote it?
Oh my God. I had the CD. They gave us CDs of this thing.
I wasn't fortunate enough to get the CD. I wasn't on it
You
on the
got,
first
you got,
season.
Well, yeah.
you got flowers.
You get flowers.
Breathe. And I want to say it was like Jane.
Come on.
Got
Got it.
Breathe in, breathe out. Or Jane. Please. Come on, man. I've got like.
Oh,
it's-
oui,
Got
oui.
Jean. She's
It's
got
Jane. Does the last name start with an
Ah,
S?
Oui, oui. Mm.
French. Jane French.
Yes.
Hey, what's
Nice.
up?
She takes it for me.
Yay.
Okay.
We're a team.
I got one. Yes.
Excellent.
Team 702 on the side of the table.
There you go.
Where my girls at?
From the front to back,
and if you're feeling that, put one hand up if you repeat that.
Okay.
Question.
Okay.
Number 5.
Sorry, I told you if it's black, I know it. Go ahead.
What This Is Us actor got a start on Passions?
Oh.
Which what? This is
This
us.
Is
oh,
Us
Justin
actor.
Hartley, man.
Justin
What did
Hartley.
you knew that?
Of course.
You wanted to
She's
give.
No,
you
she,
wanted to give
her,
it to
her
her.
aw means she knew the answer.
Oh, okay, got it.
I just
Got it.
I ran up
interrupted
to
her.
Listen,
I'm sorry.
I
You
saw,
guys
I
love
saw him
some-
at the store. Oh, so go
You
ahead.
love each other so much that you're not competing against each other. You're helping. each
No.
other.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're
got it.
we're
Sorry.
trying to beat
We
you.
just had, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It's you against us.
All right.
Wait, why did I run into Justin at the mall?
You did?
With his daughter, and so I was like, oh, Justin. And he's like, "Hey, Christy," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, wait, no, I have to be a fan because This Is Us that just came on." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I freaking love it." He's like, "I know, right? It's so good." And I was like, "Yeah, my god, I'm like a fan, you know, like a what do you call it? Like what do you call those type of
Fangirl.
fans?
Fangirl.
Fanatical.
Okay, yeah, I'm like,
Fangirl.
yeah, I'm fascinated.
I have a funny story about Justin real quick. I was working with his wife, Chriselle, on something, and we were all at something together, and it was like, okay, we're going to pregame before we go up. It was like a press event, and there was like a long line to get to the elevator to go upstairs to this event, but there was a bar downstairs, and it's packed. And so like Chriselle, Justin, I think it was Eric Martzoff, and I, we were all down in this bar. This was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. and Justin's tall. So he's like, all right, he's like, they'll pay attention to me. I'm going to get drink orders. What do you want? What do you want? And I was like, can I get 2 fingers of whiskey straight? And he double taked me and he's like, yes, sir. So, yes, I was judged.
Judged by the Justin.
Judged by the
like,
Justin.
yeah.
I was judged
But
by
I still
Justin.
got my drink. Thank you.
I was judged by Justin too, because Chriselle works with my wife's company.
Okay.
And so just they're all at all of the parties.
Is that like the Oppenheimer?
Yeah, the Oppenheimer group. Yeah.
Okay.
So I saw him and I'm like, oh, Justin, like, and I walked up and I was like, hey man, how's everything going? Just, I mean, it's been ages, right? But I remembered him. He didn't remember who I was, which I discovered later. And meanwhile, I was like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. How's it? Thinking that he knew who I was, right?
You're like that rash healed up. Thanks.
and so
It was just a little
and so then
ointment,
later
that's all I
on,
needed.
I'm like, oh, this is awkward. Like I'm realizing he doesn't remember,
Yeah.
right? And I couldn't remember where I knew him from either. Like I'm like trying to remember where did we meet originally? So it wasn't until the next party I remember it was Hollywood Nights, and he was like, oh right, yeah, okay, yeah, and then he's like, oh yeah, you remember my friend Matt, and then we were cool, but yeah, I was
Awkward
judged as
moment
well.
in Hollywood when we were like, are we friends? Have we hung out?
I mean, he's a lovely
Or
guy.
do I know you
happens a
from
lot, though,
television?
He's
right?
a lovely guy with a great
That's
sense
One
of
of
humor.
those.
It is, yeah.
Say that again.
Where it's like those awkward moments that you have in Hollywood where you see somebody and you're like, oh wait, like, do I know this person? Have we hung out before? Or are you on television?
Right.
I did that there was a guy that was on Scandal, and we were at an event, celebrity event, and I go up to him, and I'm with my girlfriend who's an actress, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, so I go up to him and I'm like, hey, what's up? How you know? I know we work together. Right. And he's just like, sure. Okay. And he was so nice, and he's like, yeah. And he's just, and then as I walk away, my girlfriend's like, Christy, chick, you don't know him. He's from Scandal. And I was like, and so I posted it on Facebook, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I met the guy from such and such, and I did this, and I act like I knew, and I just knew I knew him, and he's like, and he was so nice.
Yeah.
And then somebody tagged him in it who knew him, and he was like, oh, you were so sweet. Don't worry about it. But I was just like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
That happens. I mean, it happens a lot.
Dude, yeah, I
Yeah.
did that with like the guy who led that movie, The Bronx Tale, which I was obsessed with because
That's a
like
great movie.
it's such a good movie, And I remember seeing him at a casting for Undressed back in the day, and I was like,
yeah.
hey man, like I embrace him, and he's just like, I don't know you.
Oh,
He said,
I was like, yeah, man, no, like we met at like a party at BT's house with BT, Brandon Tyler. It was like
Brandon,
friend, yeah, you know Brandon. I was like, no, we met at a party at BT's house because everybody in Hollywood under 21 was
Yes,
hanging
absolutely.
out there.
that or Oakwood, right?
Or the
Yes.
Oakwood,
That
yeah,
was
another
performance.
That's the
stomping
go-to.
ground.
Right.
And he was like, nah, man. He's like, I don't know your BT, and I don't know you. And he walked away
Oh,
from me.
no.
Yes.
Did he think you were like trying to pull some gangster stuff on him, or
Right.
like
I
that
didn't
sounds?
I thought I knew him.
just say it's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Never seen you before.
I know.
No.
Sorry, we digress. Go
Some
ahead.
people handle it with grace. Others.
That
I know.
SOB. All right. Okay. Question 6. What's the name of the character that was impregnated by the act of a creepy CGI baby jumping into her belly?
What?
I don't remember that, but it could only be the only person I could think it would be Charity, right? But Charity never got pregnant, did she?
I don't know.
How many people were pregnant on the show?
Kay was pregnant a lot. Well, that came out in a triplicate, and I didn't mean for that to happen.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember anybody getting pregnant
A
except
baby
for,
jumped in her belly.
Oh, I don't know. Who?
Sheridan, maybe?
I was gonna say either Sheridan or it can't be Teresa. There's only 3 people that have like.
I'm gonna go with Sheridan
Ding,
because
ding, ding.
Really?
We accept your answer.
All right.
Okay.
Yay!
Excellent. Good
You know,
job,
but
guys.
she was having plenty of sex. Like it should have just happened.
True.
It's hilarious.
Just saying. Okay.
That creepy CGI baby, though.
That's how it happens.
I remember.
kids.
Yeah.
I do remember
That's how it
that.
happens.
And then it
actually.
just like hops into the belly.
Like,
like,
boop.
I think I kind of remember that.
Very creepy.
I just don't remember whose belly.
All right, this is going back to your favorite type of question. Last question, number 7. What was the number 1 song in America the
God.
day Passions finally aired? Or sorry, the Passions finale aired on DirecTV
I knew you'd do
August 7th, 2008. So,
2008.
That's when the strike was happening. Didn't nobody?
No, dude, 2008. That's 10 years ago. We can figure this out. Come on.
that. You can totally do it.
I'll give you a hint.
A summer
Go
song.
ahead. Hint.
She has performed on the Super Bowl.
Janet Jackson.
a
Well,
good
no,
hint.
she can't. No.
Was Katy Perry out at that point?
Yeah. Well, Katy Perry. Who else performed?
We'll go ahead and-
Britney Spears.
it's Katy Perry.
It is.
I
Katy
Kissed a
Perry.
Girl?
Yes.
Oh my God! Which one was it?
I Kissed a Girl.
Yay!
Excellent.
And she liked
for
it.
you.
And
Look
she
at you.
liked
she
it.
liked it.
This is my life now, man. Like
Well
you're
done.
out there, big wheels, big deals, and I'm answering trivia.
You got it.
I'll take
Listen,
it.
nailed
Nothing more fun
I
than
told
trivia.
you.
I'm terrible at it.
You ever go on a
But it's
cruise
fun.
ship and you need a buddy or a phone a friend? You let me know.
That'll be you.
I'm here,
And if
Well-
you need manifestation,
Yep.
dude.
all
That's
about it.
so much more important.
I'm all about it.
skills, life skills. Why did I
Well,
choose
we are
trivia?
approaching the end of the interview, so first and foremost, thank you so much for being here with
Thank
us.
you
Absolutely.
for having
Absolutely.
us.
But before we go, we definitely want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about current projects that
Current
are going on right
projects.
now, that you want to promote, whatever that is for you.
Current projects and future projects that you're excited about that you are able to talk about.
I gotta remember the name of my movies because they changed the name. So go ahead. I'll
Okay.
let you talk.
So it's been a very blessed year.
Oh, good. Congratulations.
Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. And so I did a pilot and 3 films so far this year, and I've got another pilot coming up next month. So I will go in order. I have a film coming out called Intensive Care.
Intensive care.
The cast is mostly former soap folks, and everybody is escaping my mind right now.
That's okay.
Chances are it'll end up on Lifetime. Then there is Ties That Bound, is another independent film I did where I'm playing mom to grown folks now.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
I'm not ready to admit that because I'm not ready for that.
Right.
So maybe we could rewind the clock a little bit. And we're in post-production on that. And then I just got back from Guthrie, Oklahoma, shooting Deadly Romance with Jennifer Taylor. And no idea when that will come out because we just wrapped. So all seemingly headed towards the Lifetime situation of it all. And a pilot called Fracture, post-apocalyptic dystopian future
Fantastic.
situation. So yeah, keep
That
an
is a
eye
good
out
year.
for those
That's
things.
a
And if
great
you
year.
forget, just hit me
Congrats.
up on social media. I am at Jade_Harlow on Twitter, and I'm Jade Harlow 12 on the Insta of Situations.
And we're gonna have that in the episode description as well. So if you need the spelling or anything like that for any of these, it'll be there.
Cool.
Awesome. Because spelling my name is like.
It is.
Really quick before we
Yeah.
move over to Christy, I want to ask you. So can give us a little insight about how it feels to win. a
Oh
Daytime
my
Emmy.
gosh.
I was just about to ask.
It's insane. It's insane. So it's my third. I have 2 as a writer producer, but this one was for acting. So this one
A
was
writer
a little
producer for
for The Bay, which is this
Okay.
Amazon series that I've been a part of for a lot of moons here.
awesome.
Playing Liana Ramos, and we go back into production at the last 2 weeks of September. Shout out to everybody on The Bay.
Excellent.
So I have 2 because I wrote on the show, and those, somebody else makes the speech, somebody else holds the trophy. If you're one of the producers, they make you buy a trophy just to tell you, like,
Yeah,
oh
you-
yeah,
you
it's
have to buy-
$350.
We had to
and
buy-
they
we had
send
to buy
it
our
to you in
gold
the mail.
records.
It's exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first time somebody handed me one, and it being for acting, it was, like I said, extra special. It's terrifying.
And it was for
It's for Best Supporting Actor for The Bay.
For The Bay.
Or, actress, rather. And so, thank God they're heavy. Thank God they weigh about 8 pounds because I was shaking like a leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't write a speech. I just sort of wanted to keep it short because we were towards the end of the night and everybody was ready to take the high heels off, go to the after party. We were sick. Everybody wants you to be quick when you make these speeches. Just make it quick, you know? So you get up, you're shaking like a leaf, you want to say all the right things. And, it helped to look around the room and at least to be able to see some of my cast. So anyway, it was weird. And then they usher you backstage and they hand you this little tiny business card piece of paper. And they're like, this is more important than your trophy. You cannot lose this. And then they usher you off to talk room to room to room to do interviews with. So that's the serial number of your trophy.
Oh.
And if you want to register it officially and get your band, they don't have bands on them when they give them to you. You have to register your trophy and the serial number, and then you email
They give
them.
them to you right then and there.
They give them to you right then
The
and there, and
trophy
then they
itself.
point to like a little area of like trophy coffins, and they're like, "Don't forget your box." It's like I'm fully not going to do press holding a box. I'm going to hold my statue,
Absolutely.
course.
Yeah.
and I'm 2 drinks in anyway, and because I did not think I was going to win, and you go around, you do press, clutching this tiny business card type of thing, and of course you're doing curls with your trophy, and that's it. So when it happens to you, don't lose the card.
Don't lose the card.
Yeah.
Are you manifesting when it happens
Yes.
to us?
Absolutely.
When we get our
100%,
Emmys?
because
Okay.
it will.
All right.
Don't lose the card.
Got it.
Okay.
Don't lose the card.
And so for me, hearing her win was significant. I didn't know about the other 2, but it was just a moment for me to say, here was this young person who was all over the place, and lost, I would say.
Yeah.
And for the people who kind of were a little dismissive, and I can't say rightfully so, but just your actions,
Yeah.
and to see you step into this greatness of winning
Oh man.
was such a beautiful moment for me to see, of like seeing someone take a turn and do something completely different. And and I just thought it was such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I remember having that thought, and I was like, oh my God, this girl like went from this person as a kid to a woman and win an Emmy, and nobody else can say that. You know what I mean?
Thank
That's awesome.
you.
You know,
That is
so-
beautiful.
I'm
So that
sorry.
was-
We're gonna.
Yes,
I-
do
I-
it.
I-
Yes.
Absolutely.
No.
So much, man.
But I just remember like going, and then that's when I had that thought. That's when you reached out to me about doing the show. So I was like, oh my God, I just
Serendipity.
had this thought, right?
God bless
so-
you for that.
We're,
Thank you,
we're
man.
blessed to have you guys.
Absolutely.
Yay.
And this moment, like such a beautiful moment
Oh
to
my
be able to
God.
witness. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Do you want to promote?
So-
Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, so many different things, but
You're so busy all the time.
Yeah, I am and I'm not, like
When it rains, it pours.
and I have to say that because people are always like, oh, I didn't want to call you because I know you're always so busy. So I stopped posting stuff because I'm
Oh.
like, yeah, because you guys think I'm so busy that now you're going to have me miss opportunities. You're going to write my story for me. And
Right.
I'm like, no.
Right.
Yeah,
She is
I'm
just busy enough.
Yeah, like I'm always
She
going to
can
create an
make it
opportunity.
work.
Absolutely.
I'm always
She
gonna
can make
create
it
an
work.
Of course.
Absolutely.
But I just finished a film with MC Light, who the rapper,
Yeah.
who I grew up watching.
Fuck yeah.
Melinda Williams, she was on Soul Food and a whole bunch of different things. Tobias, McKinley, who's on Hit the Floor. Tobias was on Empire, but we just did a movie called Love to Kill. And it's based off of a true story about a woman, my sister, who is dating a guy, and I don't particularly like him. I think there's something wrong with him, and some kind of tragic stuff happens to her. So I have that. That's called Love to Death. And then I have a show that's on a new network called UMC.TV. It's like a Netflix, you know what I mean? Which is great. But that show is called Craig Ross Jr.'s Monogamy. And it's about 4 couples who are going through struggles, and they do a swap therapy. So they swap, couples, and man, it gets intense. It gets like, ooh,
So
what do
it's
I
not
do?
monogamy.
Oh, that sounds
You
interesting.
never know. Can't answer that one. Some people, yes.
Tune
some
in.
people, no.
Well, everybody on Wife Swap looked miserable, so
Yeah,
it
Right.
doesn't bode well.
yeah. So we're looking, for a second season, hopefully. And then, of course, producing. I have Mercer Island that we're trying to get going. I have another project that we're trying to get. We're only just looking for just a little bit of funding because we already have the other end of the funding for it. But for Mercer Island, and then American Spectre, we're both working on. And then
Those are
two different projects.
Features?
No, they're
Those
TV
are
shows.
TV shows. Okay,
yeah,
great.
that I'm producing for executive producing. And then I have something that I do, Black People Shit, once a week, where I talk about
Which is
I see
fucking
that come- I see that come
fantastic,
through my
guys.
feed
If you're not watching
often,
it,
yeah.
I know it's not for me, but I just love watching
No,
it.
listen, I got a lot of white people that watch it.
It's for everybody
Yeah,
to enjoy.
but you just gotta have an open,
Right.
because people who are
You can't
not
be so
of color,
sensitive.
yeah, they'll probably
Right.
take it personal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you're taking it personal, then you might want to think about, are you doing this?
You gotta understand. It's not like a joke per se,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a stab. It's like hey, this is it's
this
funny.
is what, yeah, this
You
is
know?
this is what's happening. This is what America is doing.
Realize it and-
right?
and-
yeah,
and-
like
and laugh
if
at it.
you're Permit Patty and you're calling the cops on a little black girl because she's selling water to take a trip to Disneyland with her school, you might want to go ahead and think that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you,
yeah.
doing that, do you consider yourself an activist?
It's
Because I see you that way.
Do you?
I
That's
do.
so interesting, because I'm such a people person. It was a little difficult to do sometimes because, my fan base is so white from Passions, and I never want to alienate people.
Right.
But it's also like, these are the things that I'm speaking about, the things that people of color are dealing with.
You've got to
and
be
I'm
true to
like,
yourself.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but it's also hard. It's tricky, but I'm lucky that I have a lot of friends that are white who will just like, oh my God, that's so true. White people, we need to stop, But I also get on black people for some of the things that I'm like, y'all got to stop fucking up on, like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? So it's a catch-22, but when you see all of these people being killed and you're seeing, how they treated, Kevin Hart when, how there's just so the difference between somebody getting hired that's black and a person that's white when it comes to money, when it comes to the treatment. I remember
And when
working,
it comes as a woman too.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and I got a double whammy. I remember
Yep.
I remember getting a Clearasil commercial. I'll never forget this. Got a Clearasil commercial, and I was the first person that was hired. They were like, we love her. They hadn't cast everybody else. So my agent, who was a Jewish white woman who was married to a black man who had a mixed kid, she was a little like feisty, you know what I mean? Had the little attitude thing. And she said, well, why don't you hire Christy as the lead? And they were like, well, Clearasil would never hire a black girl as a lead.
Excuse the fuck out of me.
Right. So when you I remember going to another audition, a huge audition. They called me at the last minute, literally gave me 2 hours to go in. What I found out later was that they had to fight to get me in the room because this particular director did not want to see a black person. And I was the only black girl, but it was for them to fill their quota to say we had a black girl come
yeah.
in.
Wow.
When you and I spent
that wasn't that long ago.
not that long ago. Yeah, and I spent $300 memorizing 17 pages of material trying to get in, and that happened twice in 1 week about it being a black thing. Like, yeah, they're not going to go black. So when you have situations like that happen, it makes it very difficult, but people don't see that. They only, again, like if you're a woman, you're going to look at it from a woman's perspective. If you're a gay person, you're going to look at it from a gay perspective. If you're black, you're going to see it from a black perspective or an Asian perspective. We're all going to have different stories.
And unless we tell the stories, the other person might not even know.
Exactly.
Might not even realize that they're doing something
that's
that's
what's happening. Yeah.
screwed up.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like when I do looping sometimes, like they'll have someone like it's, they're only going to hire one black person to come in. Yet we as a black person can talk white and we can talk black. And there are some white people who can do both, but you will find that it's just an interesting situation. But I'm blessed because so many people love me in this industry.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the ones
Well,
that
you're
hire
fantastic.
me. Well, thank you.
So duh.
But Black People Shit is all about bringing that stuff to light
Now,
in a very funny, sarcastic
Is
way.
that on a website, or is that you just have that on Facebook?
It's on
or
Facebook.
YouTube, or?
Yeah,
it
so do
is-
the handles. Do
it's
all
on,
the
it's
all
on
the
YouTube.
things.
Yeah, it's on
All the
YouTube.
things.
Do all the
I know,
things.
all the things. No, it's on YouTube. So
Okay.
and I try to do them once a week. Whatever is current that Black people are talking about, like my next episode is going to be, like Omarosa and
Sure.
they're calling a dog, and you know what I mean, like. It's not coincidence
fuck
that
is he doing?
He's not racist, but he calls a black woman
Bullshit.
a dog, right? I'm like,
Bullshit. He's not racist.
So-
He's not misogynist. Give me
Right, so I'm gonna have a nice little field day on that type of thing.
Of
you know what I
course.
mean?
That'll be a
I'm
solid
tuning
3-4
in for
minutes
sure.
at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I'll try to put a whole bunch of, because there's so much that happened this week, like
Yeah.
in the black world, in the white world, and in the world of politics. There's so much happening. So
Always, yeah.
I'll have a lot to talk about this
Yeah,
week.
there's never a boring
So-
news cycle
Yeah,
now.
so black people should hashtag black people shit on YouTube.
And
Okay.
your handles.
Oh, just my name, Chrystee Fairest. But you guys will spell it because it's spelled differently.
It is.
CHRYSTEE. Yeah, that's how I became president. I did a rap.
Oh, shit.
I did a rap and I spelled my name, so when they saw my name on the ballot, they knew it was me.
That's nice.
That's how I beat Shaq.
I did a
rhyming.
Really?
Yeah.
I did a tap dance and I lost
Because you did a
because
tap
I
dance.
did a tap dance. On that note,
We want to thank you guys again. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
coming out and
Absolutely.
hanging out with us. You guys have been amazing. And
thank you for opening and sharing. And
Absolutely. Anything
Nothing but
else that
love.
you guys want to say before we wrap up here? I don't.
So good to see you.
It is so good to see
Thank
you. My
for
God.
for having
So
me
glad we
on the
can
show.
do
Thank
that.
you for-
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And
And,
big shout out to all the Passion fans.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And to all the Passion crew
Yes.
and producers. You guys
yes.
were
amazing.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For,
Thank you for the opportunities that we had. And I'm so happy to hear that Lisa gave you another
Oh my God.
opportunity.
Yay.
Lisa's amazing.
She's incredible. Thank you for putting us in each other's orbit.
yeah.
yes. Also, huge shout out to KJem.
Okay, Jen and the
Shout out to
staff here for helping us
Thank
out.
you so much.
And our
guys rock.
director, Steve.
Yes. You guys are incredible.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys.
And the
Thank
Asian
you.
guy on the camera back here. Yeah.
Who is being mysterious and didn't share his name.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, you guys didn't meet. We'll introduce you after.
Yeah.
After we wrap this up.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
The
you.
Real ShowCast out.
We out.
We are out of here.
Deuces.
You guys, awesome.
My
Thank
friend
you.
has a baby that's just learned to say goodbye, and when she leaves, she goes, goodbye. And it's the creepiest shit in the world. She's like,
And then she jumps into someone's belly.
oh, Lord.
I have to pee so bad.
Thank you guys so much.